Chosen one. The game was over before you even realized it began. While you were focused on your purpose, a coordinated group invested their pride and resources into a trap designed to dismantle your dignity. You just dodged a bullet. They planned utter embarrassment and got left looking like the clown. You are the unshakable evidence that no weapon formed against a chosen soul can prosper. Let us go back to where this chapter began, because you remember the feeling. There was a season where everything got tight, not a little uncomfortable, genuinely, suffocatingly tight. Money stopped flowing the way it was supposed to. Opportunities that appeared right in front of you dissolved before you could grab them. You did everything correctly, and still hit an invisible wall. You pushed and the push went nowhere. The worst part was not the difficulty itself. The worst part was the silence behind it, as though the universe had simply turned away from you. You responded the way a self-aware person does. You looked inward. You examined your habits, your mindset, your choices. You found areas that needed work and you addressed them. When things still did not move, you went deeper. You questioned your worthiness. You wondered if the vision you held for your life was just arrogance dressed up as faith. You started to believe you had misread your own destiny. Stop right there. That questioning was the intended result. It was manufactured. Here is what was actually happening beneath the surface of that season. A group of people, not strangers but people connected to your world, had made a very specific decision about you. They saw the trajectory you were on. They sensed what was moving toward you. They gathered quietly, in the way that small-minded people gather when they feel threatened by someone they cannot control, and they decided to engineer your limitation, deliberately, precisely, with one singular outcome in mind. The outcome they designed was utter embarrassment. Not just failure, not just a stumble. They wanted you publicly and visibly humiliated. They wanted the world to watch you reach for something magnificent and crash. They wanted the people who believed in you to begin questioning that belief. They wanted the version of you that had been rising to be dismantled so thoroughly and so publicly that you would never dare try again. That was the plan, fully formed, coordinated, and being executed while you were going about your daily life. What you need to feel is the sheer scale of the audacity, because they did not just plan one moment of embarrassment, they built a sequence. The first step was to squeeze you financially. The second step was to let desperation from that squeeze force a bad decision out of you. The third step was to let the public failure of that decision land directly in front of everyone whose opinion matters to you. The plan was layered, designed like a controlled demolition of your momentum and your name. Someone sat down and reverse-engineered your potential humiliation. They mapped your triggers, anticipated your moves, and built contingencies. This was not a moment of petty spite. This was a project. And the fact that it collapsed so completely is not a small footnote. When something that calculated falls apart, it falls apart in a specific, visible, and very loud way. The question is not whether you should be angry. The question that actually matters is this: why were they that frightened of you? Now let us look directly at who has been behind this, because your instincts have been pointing in the right direction the entire time. There is a group, more than one person working together, and the first thing you must understand about them is that they do not look like what you would expect a threat to look like. That is not accidental. That concealment is the strategy itself. They are charming and warm-seeming. They have built an exterior that reads as almost aggressively harmless. They are the kind of people who make you feel slightly paranoid for even questioning their motives, because their public presentation is that good. Underneath that carefully constructed surface, however, they operate entirely in shadow. They celebrate destruction in private. They pass information about you through their network like it is entertainment. Your moves, your growth, your vulnerabilities, your wins, all of it has been catalogued, studied, and used as ammunition against you. They have been taking notes on you. Think about what that means. While you were working on yourself, healing yourself, and building your life, they were watching. Not to be inspired by you, but to find the crack, to locate the entry point where pressure applied precisely would finally break you open. Above the group, someone gave the original order. That someone is not a stranger. That person comes from inside your world, family, or someone you trusted at that level. This person came to the group with a specific instruction: bring this person low, humble them, embarrass them so thoroughly that they stop being a threat. The word that keeps surfacing is humbled, not corrected, not redirected, but humbled, brought to their knees. The reason behind it is straightforward. Something significant is moving toward you, and this person believes it belongs to them instead. They sensed what was coming for you before it arrived. Rather than trust that their own path had something waiting for them, they decided the only route to having what you have is to make sure you cannot have it first. That mentality reveals everything about what they are actually working with on the inside. A person operating from genuine power does not need to intercept someone else's blessing. A person who is truly secure in their own path does not need to knock you off yours in order to feel like they are advancing. The fact that they looked at your life and thought, I need that, and I will take it rather than build it, that is desperation wearing the costume of strategy. That is envy wearing the costume of authority. Here is what none of them knew when they started. The very blessing they were trying to intercept was already sealed, already confirmed, and already in motion toward you. Every move they made to stop it was going to accelerate it instead. They did not know they were working for you the entire time. If this resonates with your inner knowing, hype this video to help fellow chosen ones find their way here. Here is exactly how they came at you. Pay close attention, because understanding this is what ensures it never lands again. They started with your finances. That was the entry point, and it was chosen deliberately because your financial state controls everything that flows from it. Your confidence, your decisions, your willingness to take risks, your ability to stay patient with your own process, all of it is downstream of how safe or unsafe you feel financially. If they could make money feel impossible, if they could embed the feeling of scarcity so deeply that it became your default operating belief, then everything else would follow. The goal was never just to strain your bank account. The goal was to alter your frequency. Your energy broadcasts outward, and what you broadcast is what you attract back. A person vibrating at scarcity draws in more scarcity. A person making decisions from fear draws in experiences that confirm the fear. They were not simply attacking your finances, they were attempting to reprogram your entire relationship with abundance at the root level, so that even when the right opportunity appeared, you would not be in a state to recognize or receive it. Once you were sufficiently squeezed, someone was going to arrive with an offer, a position that was not aligned with you, an investment that would drain what little you had left, a partnership designed entirely to benefit the other party. In a genuinely desperate state, you would accept it, not because you are foolish, but because deliberate, sustained wearing down makes wisdom feel like a luxury you cannot afford. That is a sophisticated play. The design was a funnel. Squeeze you to a specific point of vulnerability, then control what you reach for at your lowest moment. While the financial attack ran, a quieter campaign was also being waged against your confidence and your image. The natural radiance you carry, the way you present to the world even during hard seasons, the fact that you do not look like what you have been through, that was being targeted as a secondary pressure point. A person who still looks unbothered is harder to fully destabilize, so the attack needed to work on both the inside and the outside simultaneously. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random, and if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in. You've also noticed something else. A lot of Chosen One channels on YouTube have gone quiet. Videos removed. Voices pushed off the platform. The mainstream media is cracking down on us, but we will not give up our voice. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine, And when you join, you're not just supporting your favorite channels, you're also fueling your own rise. It's a 360 win. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is, you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your destiny engine for $7 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Your ideas and your creative direction were also being monitored and in some cases intercepted. Think of a time when something you were building stalled for no clear reason, or when something you shared within your circle surfaced somewhere else without credit. That interference was not coincidental. Ideas are momentum, and intercepting yours was meant to redirect your energy into confusion rather than creation. The group was not acting with full information or full autonomy. Someone above them was feeding instructions, telling them what to say, how to behave, what moves to make. They were performing a script written by someone else entirely. That means they are simultaneously guilty of what they participated in and dangerously exposed, because when the whole arrangement collapsed, the person at the top was going to point at them first. They believed they were co-conspirators with authority. In reality, they were tools being used, and they would be the ones left holding the consequences. This is the part that changes everything, because this is where your chapter stops being about what was done to you and starts being fully about who you are. While they were building the trap, you were busy becoming someone the trap could not hold. You were not doing it loudly, you were not announcing it, but quietly, consistently, in ways that made no noise. You had been doing the internal work. You had been shifting your relationship with money, moving away from the energy of not enough and into something more open, more trusting, more grounded in the belief that abundance was genuinely available to you. You had been building a more whole version of yourself than the version they had studied and targeted. A trap is designed for a specific version of the person being targeted. It is built based on what the designer observed, what they measured, and what they are betting is still true about that person. But when you have grown, when your frequency has lifted, when the version they were aiming at has been replaced by something more elevated, the trap becomes completely useless. It is like a lock that was engineered for a key that no longer exists. That is precisely what happened. The pressure arrived. The designed vulnerability was pressed. They waited for the crack. The crack never came, because the wound they were targeting, the wound around financial fear, unworthiness and scarcity, had been quietly healing. Not completely, not in every direction, but enough. Enough that the hook had nowhere to catch. Enough that every bit of energy directed at you slid off without landing. There is something specific about timing that they also completely miscalculated. They designed the attack to land at a particular window, the moment just before a major breakthrough, when the gap between where you are and where you are going feels its widest and most unstable. They identified that window and built their entire plan around it. What they did not account for is that your alignment had shifted before that window ever opened. You were no longer standing in the position they had aimed at. You had moved, and they were executing a plan designed for a version of you that no longer existed in that form. You could call it wrong timing. They certainly felt it. The energy was not connecting. The response they expected from you was not coming. Rather than recognize that the ground had moved beneath their feet and adjust accordingly, they pushed harder, and that was their critical error. When you direct dark energy at someone and it has nowhere to land, it does not simply dissolve, it reverses direction. The collapse they designed for you started moving back toward its source. Everything they had invested, every agreement made, every coordinated move, every cup raised in celebration of your supposed downfall began reversing course, and what that reversal looked like is exactly what we are about to walk through. Something went catastrophically wrong inside their operation. An attempt, a targeted intention aimed directly at you, detonated on the sender instead. There was fallout. There was a situation that could not be quietly managed or explained away. The people who had been running this entire plan in secret suddenly found themselves having very uncomfortable conversations in very public ways within the very community they had so carefully cultivated around themselves. The person who gave the original order had been waiting for a report of success. They expected confirmation that you had cracked, that the financial pressure had taken hold, that you were spiraling toward the moment of visible, humiliating failure they had engineered so carefully. What arrived instead was silence, then confusion, then the slow, sickening realization that the operation had produced absolutely nothing, and that the nothing was becoming its own kind of exposure. Questions started moving through their network. Why did it not connect? How are you still standing and still moving forward? Why is nothing landing? Here is the answer that confronted them at a level above their own strategy. You could not be reached the way they were attempting. Because of who you are, because of what is assigned to your life, because of the protection built into your lineage, the direct route was simply not available to them. So they pivoted to your finances, and even that ran directly into the wall of your own growth. When the plan failed to produce results, the response was not a graceful exit. The response was overcompensation, louder performances of warmth and community spirit, more exaggerated displays of harmlessness, more effort poured into the exterior presentation to make sure no one looked underneath. When something is falling apart in the shadows, the instinct is to make the surface even more dazzling to distract from it. But overcompensation is its own tell. The extra brightness reads as suspicious to anyone paying real attention, the smile that arrives slightly too wide, the enthusiasm that comes a beat too fast, the performance of peace from someone whose energy tells a completely different story underneath. The community that was built on the perception of their warmth became the very audience now watching that warmth malfunction in real time. And once you notice a glitch in someone's carefully constructed presentation, you cannot stop noticing it. Every subsequent interaction gets filtered through that new awareness. The exterior is cracking. The harmless persona is developing inconsistencies that the people closest to them are beginning to register. The reputation that was built on curated likability is starting to feel like exactly what it is, curated. Truth surfaces regardless of how many layers are placed over it, and in networks where information moves fast, surface cracks become visible fractures very quickly. The clown costume is not on you. It was never going to be on you. It is sitting on the people who assembled it, piece by piece, publicly in front of the very audience they expected to watch your fall. You need to understand why this level of coordinated, resourced, multi-person effort was directed specifically at you. Once you feel this truth fully, you will not be able to see yourself the way you used to. They did not do all of this because you are ordinary. Ordinary people do not draw this kind of opposition. That level of investment is not made against someone who barely registers on anyone's radar. That degree of fear is not activated by someone with no real trajectory. The energy spent against you was directly proportional to the magnitude of what is on your life. You carry a quality that does not diminish under pressure. You carry your experiences without looking like they have consumed you. You keep hitting milestones in ways that compound, each one building on the last, in a pattern that looks almost effortless from the outside. That apparent effortlessness is maddening to someone who is working incredibly hard just to stay in place while you keep ascending without visible strain. Your existence becomes a mirror that reflects back what they have chosen not to build, what they convinced themselves was impossible, and what they quietly gave up on. Rather than sit with that reflection honestly, they decided to shatter the mirror. There is also the quality of your relationships that disturbed them. People carry genuine warmth when your name comes up. The loyalty that exists in your corner was earned, not purchased, and that distinction is obvious to anyone looking closely. To someone whose own network is entirely transactional, whose support is maintained through performance or obligation, watching that kind of organic loyalty belong to you is its own form of unbearable. So the attack extended to that as well. Your reputation was worked on in spaces where you were not present. Suggestions were dropped. Narratives were shaped. Quiet doubts were planted in people who might otherwise have remained firmly in your corner. The operation was not just aimed at you directly, it was aimed at everything around you, because an isolated person is a more vulnerable one, and a person with fewer anchors is far easier to push off balance. What they underestimated is the depth of your genuine connections. The people who are truly yours do not move easily. Those who attempted to shift those connections ended up revealing their own nature to the very people they were trying to influence. That is the inherent consequence of trying to poison a relationship using jealousy rather than truth. Jealousy has a sound, and the people who love you can hear it clearly. Every piece of pressure they applied forced a clarity in you that you would not have reached on your own timeline. Every forced detour brought you to a more honest assessment of what you want and what you are worth. Every attempt to install a ceiling became material the universe repurposed as a launching pad. They tried to break you. They accidentally refined you instead. Something significant is moving toward you. Not a minor improvement, not a brief period of relief, but something structural. The kind of shift that alters the foundation beneath everything else. Your finances, your standing, the opportunities that begin finding you, the sense of yourself that you carry into each new space, all of it is part of what is being realigned. What is coming has the capacity to set the entire course of what follows, not just for one season, but for the long arc ahead. Your financial foundation is being rebuilt, not patched over what was damaged, rebuilt from something more solid and more aligned with who you actually are. The instability you experienced was not a story ending, it was clearance. Old structures that could not hold what is coming were making way for structures that can. What gets built in this phase carries genuine weight. The previous foundation was never designed to support the life you are meant to live. The person who designed your public humiliation is going to witness your public elevation. That inversion is not poetic coincidence. It is the precise return on what was sent against you. While that person was investing time and energy into your embarrassment, the universe was investing in your ascension. Those returns are landing now, visibly, without any announcement needed from you. Your life is going to say everything that needs to be said, and it will do so without your help. The blessing they tried to intercept arrived through a path they did not know existed. They positioned themselves at the entrance they expected you to walk through and waited. The delivery came through a completely different door. They are still standing guard at the wrong location. There is something important about how this blessing may arrive that you need to hold. It might not look exactly the way you imagined. Big shifts rarely arrive wrapped the way we planned for them. What comes may feel slightly unfamiliar at first. It might require a decision that appears risky from the outside. It might involve real change in your environment, in your closest circle, in the way you see yourself moving through the world. Do not let the packaging mislead you about the contents. The magnitude of what is in motion toward you does not diminish simply because the form is unexpected. Your readiness is what matters now, and readiness is not excitement. Readiness is grounded. Readiness is being so clear and so stable in who you are that when the shift arrives, you can meet it without flinching. A blessing that was fought for on your behalf, not by your hands, but by something much larger working for you, carries a different weight when it finally lands. It settles more deeply. It is held more carefully. Everything they thought they were preventing by trying to delay it, they were actually ensuring you received it with far greater capacity than you would have had before they started. Chosen one. This is where we shift from understanding into action. Knowing what happened is one thing. How you move forward is everything. Walk away quietly from what was designed to hold you. Not because you are retreating, because you are decided. There is nothing to argue, nothing to defend, and nothing to prove to anyone who was not genuinely in your corner when it counted. Your silence is not weakness. Silence from someone of your caliber lands with far more weight than any rebuttal ever could. Distance accomplishes what confrontation cannot. The further you move from what does not belong in your life, the clearer the full picture becomes for you and for everyone watching your trajectory. You do not need to expose anyone. Your continued forward movement is the exposure. Your rising path is the most thorough evidence against every person who placed a bet against you. Your relationship with money needs deliberate authoritative attention right now, not attention born from fear, but attention born from ownership. Sit with your finances, look at the full picture clearly, make intentional decisions about the direction you are heading, reclaim the financial narrative that was being written against you and replace it with one you are consciously authoring. Abundance moves toward the person who has decided without apology, without negotiation, that they are fully available for it. Make that decision now and mean it. Ground yourself physically. When life is shifting at this level, the pull toward floating on the momentum of revelation is strong. Come back down. Come back to your body, to sleep, to movement, to nourishment, to breath. Let what is coming settle into a physical self that is stable enough to receive it and hold it. Stop feeding energy to the connections your instincts flagged long before today. You already know which ones. You have known for a while. The instinct you kept explaining away, kept overriding with logic or loyalty or the benefit of the doubt, that instinct was right the entire time. Trust it now and act on it accordingly. Not with drama, not with announcements. Simply stop watering what is not growing anything of value in your life. Reclaim everything you poured into worry, into over-explanation, into trying to make people comfortable who were never truly comfortable with you rising. That energy belongs to you. The next chapter of your life is going to require the full version of you, not the version that has been spending its capacity managing other people's reactions to your growth. Here is something specific and practical. If any offer, opportunity or person showed up during that tight season and felt slightly misaligned, even when it looked like help on the surface, revisit it now with your current eyes. From this grounded, expanded place, assess what was actually being offered and what accepting it would have cost you. The discernment you have access to right now, from a place of clarity rather than desperation, is sharp. Use it to close doors that should have stayed closed. Do not replay the past trying to reconstruct every move they made. You do not need a full analysis of their plan in order to walk forward with power. What you need to know is that it happened, that it failed, and that all the mental energy you were previously spending trying to diagnose what was wrong now belongs back in your hands. Redirect it forward. That is where everything worth your attention is located. While you are reclaiming yourself, something very specific is unfolding on the other side. The operation is fracturing. The person who gave the original order is frustrated and actively looking for someone to blame. The people who carried out the plan are now caught between two impossible positions. The person above them is treating them as if they failed, while they know privately that they were sent after someone far more protected than they were ever told. That specific tension does not quietly resolve itself. It escalates. It produces conversations that should not happen in shared spaces. It produces disclosures that were designed to stay private. The carefully built exterior is developing cracks that compound on each other. The warmth that always seemed slightly too polished, the support that always arrived with a faint edge underneath it. People who are paying real attention are beginning to register the inconsistency between what is being presented and what is actually being felt. The most dangerous thing about a cracked performance is that it makes every previous interaction retroactively suspicious. People start re-examining moments they previously overlooked, and what they find changes how they understand everything that came before it. There is also the matter of agreements that were broken in the course of running this operation. Agreements made between people who operate in shadow carry their own consequences when they are violated, and those consequences do not require you to file anything, demand anything, or even be fully aware of them. They move entirely on their own. The universe is meticulous about maintaining balance, and what was broken in your name is now being accounted for without any involvement from you whatsoever. The person who gave the original order is about to understand something in a very public and very uncomfortable way. When you commission an operation against someone who is heavily protected and it fails completely, you do not get to remain anonymous behind the curtain. The people who participated know exactly who sent them, the instructions that were given, the conversations that were had. All of that lives in the memories of every person who was involved. When a coalition fractures under pressure, the information inside it starts moving outward, and what surfaces from that outward movement is going to tell a very different version of events than the one that was being carefully managed from the top. The humiliation that was planned for you is completing its return journey. It is landing exactly where it was generated, and the audience watching that landing is the very community that was supposed to witness yours instead. Here is the truth that anchors everything we have covered. What is assigned to you cannot be taken, not by the most coordinated human strategy, not by the most calculated interference, not by a coalition, a handler, a broken agreement, or a cup raised in premature celebration. What is assigned to you is sealed. The only way it could have been removed from your life is if you had handed it over yourself. If you had stopped moving, stopped believing, stopped being the person it was designed to reach. You did not stop. Even during the tightest stretch of that season, when the pressure was pressing in from every direction and the silence from the universe felt complete, something in you kept going. That persistence is not just willpower, it is not stubbornness, it is evidence of what you carry. Things that are not real do not survive extended, targeted pressure. What kept moving in you through everything that was thrown at it is proof of what is actually true about your nature. Consider the full pattern of your life. Think about every moment that was designed to end you, that instead repositioned you. The relationships that were supposed to break you, that instead clarified what you deserve. The opportunities that were supposed to define you, that fell through and made space for something more aligned. The doors that stayed closed because what was behind them was never yours to walk through. Looking back with honest eyes, you can see the protection that has been running through your entire history like a current beneath everything else, patient, consistent, precise and present, long before you had language for it. This attack was not the first attempt to stop what is on your life. It was simply the most deliberate and the most coordinated, and it produced the same result as every previous attempt. You are still here, still ascending, still becoming more of what you were always meant to be. That pattern is not random. That pattern is its own testimony. You do not need to announce what you carry, because the evidence of your life announces it on your behalf. What is on you is structural. It is not conditional on how together you feel on any given day. It is not suspended during seasons of doubt or difficulty. It does not require a minimum performance level to remain active in your life. It is simply who you are and what was assigned to you before you had the language to name it. And the higher the assignment, the more resistant it is to interference. The people who came against you were always operating beyond what their access permitted. They were swinging at something they did not have the clearance to touch. Every swing took them further from their own path and closer to the natural consequences of having stepped out of their lane. They chose the wrong target, and they will carry the weight of that choice in ways that have nothing to do with you. Right now, they are standing in the rubble of their own collapsed plan, unable to explain what happened. They are watching you continue to move, build, and rise while everything constructed to prevent that movement burns at their feet. The cup is still in their hand. The celebration they staged was premature and aimed in the entirely wrong direction. The people around them are watching the performance of their explanation fall apart in real time, and there is no graceful way to recover from that kind of public unraveling. You are standing forward, not bitter, not looking back, not spending another unit of your energy on people who are already becoming irrelevant to your trajectory. Your attention is on what is coming, and what is coming deserves the full weight of everything you have. The financial rebuild is real, and it is already underway. The ascension is real, and it is already in motion. The blessing that was sealed and sent for you before they launched a single move against you is real, and it is arriving. Nothing they did delayed it permanently. Nothing they said dismantled it. Nothing they commissioned ever touched what was assigned to you at the level it was assigned. Here is your mandate going forward. Stay in your lane. Keep building. Keep healing. Keep showing up for your own life with the same consistency you demonstrated during a season that was being actively interfered with. If you moved that steadily while something was deliberately working against you, what you are capable of now, with that interference collapsed and your full energy returned to you, is beyond what you have yet allowed yourself to imagine. You are about to have access to the full version of yourself. Use it without apology. Walk toward what is already moving in your direction. Reclaim your finances. Reclaim your narrative. Reclaim every piece of your attention that was pulled toward confusion and redirect it entirely toward creation. Let the silence of your forward movement be the only statement you ever make about what was tried against you. They planned your embarrassment. The universe delivered their own. You dodged the bullet. Chosen one. Now go receive what the bullet was trying to keep you from.